All right, so we are joined by somebody in the Rangers community that really needs no introduction other than three words: Matteau, Matteau, Matteau. Stephane Matteau, thank you very much for joining Forever Blueshirts.
Thanks for having me. Very, very excited to be here, especially on this day. Man, it just brings a lot of memories. So, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you brought that up. First time since 1994 that the Rangers and Devils are going to be playing a Game 7. Just what kind of memories does it bring up for you?
Well, the memory doesn't bring it up. Nothing brings up because every time I'm in New York, people reminds me what happened in May 27, 1994. So it's something it's going to be following me for the rest of my life. I went to Game 3, 4, and 5. And I was so proud. I felt so proud to be in the building and watching those two great teams playing against each other. And of course, that brings a lot of memories. I was there with Adam Graves. Richter was in the building. Some of my teammates from '94 were there. So even though it's been 29 years, people still talk about it. So we must have done something pretty special back then.
Yeah, absolutely. So your goal against the Devils obviously happened before social media and YouTube and all that. When was the first time you heard Howie Rose's now infamous call?
That's a good call. It's a good question. I went to a lockout after the season, and then we resumed the next season after Christmas. And someone said, "Have you listened to your call?" I said, "What call?" I said, I didn't hear anything about it, but it took me about 6-7 months after I scored that I've heard the first recording, and it was pretty special first time I heard it.
On your day with the Cup in '94, what'd you do with it?
We all had the privilege to have it for 2 days, and I took it to the Children's Hospital in my hometown in Quebec. I took it to the hospital, took it to all my friends who own a bar or restaurants, or maybe that's 6 or 7 different places. We took a bunch of pictures with it, but it was just a normal day. It was pretty special. It was to cherish that with my family, cousins, and my aunts and uncles, and it was a pretty fun day for us.
Well, when you look at the guys this year going into a Game 7, the Rangers obviously a lot more experienced in Game 7s. Just what is a player feeling in the locker room before such a game like this? And for you in '94, when were you finally able to settle into the game?
Well, '94, I was surrounded by greatness. Greatness who was won not only the experience Game 7, the guys who won the Stanley Cup 5 different times, in Messier, Glenn Anderson, Tikkanen, McTavish, Graves has won 2 at a time at that time. So Buka Boom, I was surrounded by great teammates, great leadership. But the excitement of Game 7 was incredible. After, if we rewind 2 or 3 days before, when Mark Messier guaranteed Game 6, we had a lot of fear put in our mind that we might not get to the finals. Down 2-0 after 10 minutes, Messier guaranteed, and everyone knows the after what happened in the third period alone when he scored a hat trick. So we went from very scared to going to Game 7 to play at a home ice in Madison Square Garden, and the excitement, the energy of the building, the energy amongst ourselves. It was something I will never forget. So what the Rangers are experiencing today, there's a lot of fear. If you lose this game tonight, you're out. If you're winning, if you played a great game and you win, then that opens up to the next round, and then you still you can still dream about a Stanley Cup. But tonight, it's very exciting for a lot of fans, but for a lot of players also. I don't think it's the same routine. Usually you go through your routine, you practice, you eat, you go to sleep. You don't sleep the same way before Game 7. I can tell you that much.
So we've heard a lot, both from you and Eddie Olczyk about the infamous story going into the second overtime about him kissing the blade of your stick, and you promising you'll be back in 5 minutes with the game-winning goal. Can you just tell that story one more time?
Well, that's a true story. Game 3 at in New Jersey, I scored my first double overtime goal. And while I was going on the ice, Eddie Olczyk was standing there. He wasn't playing that game, so I gave him my stick we had like a little pause, and I asked him to touch my stick, and he kissed my stick for the first time, and I scored. So Game 7 was the same thing. I didn't plan to be late on the ice, but I broke one of my lace 2 minutes before I get on the ice, and all the extra players that night, they all stayed in the next room where we changed next to our locker room. And then he thought that the whole team was on the ice at the time. I was the only one left in the room, and I asked him the same way, can you please touch? It was a very relaxing moment in a dramatic moment. So I remember he was dancing with my stick, kissing it, and I joked with him. I said, I'll be back in 5 minutes, brother. And the story gets, I lied to him. It was like 4 minutes something. So, but it's something that even though he didn't play much in the playoff, Eddie, that he was a great leader, and I'm glad that we can share that moment together. He brought me a lot of luck, in those 2 games.
You're from a fairly small city in Quebec. Did you ever have a thought? And, obviously now that it's, 29 years later, just the fact that you impacted so many lives in the New York area, one of the biggest cities in the world. Did you ever think that was possible? Impossible.
I dreamed about winning the Stanley Cup as a youngster. I pretended we put garbage cans aside of the road, pretending that was the Stanley Cup. But that to have an impact in New York for the rest of my life, I really believe the impact that I did, that I left in 1994, will be remembered for the rest of my life. But not in my wildest dream that I would be recognized, love and respect in New York. And I'm very grateful. The New York Ranger fans are amazing. I get recognized at the airports now. Every time I wear my Ranger logo T-shirt, people come up to me and they all whisper. They said, I was at your game, or they share with me where they were standing when I scored. So we have something special. It's been going on for 29 years, and I don't think that moment will slow down anytime soon.
You just talk about, Mike Keenan, obviously a very tough coach. He seemed to really like you. Can you talk about your relationship with him and, kind of segue that into, Gerard Gallant and how he's, taken the team this year and the last 2 years to the playoffs, and last year, obviously, to the conference final?
He's done a great job with the Rangers. Last year it was an amazing run for them. I think Gerard is a very good coach when you're winning. It's amazing. Winning solve a lot of problems. Keenan let's say we would not have gone winning the Stanley Cup in '94, it would have been just another coach. But I really feel that Keenan was the perfect coach for us in 1994. Not so in the first 2 rounds, but when we needed him the most in the last 2 playoff rounds, going to Game 7, a lot of drama was written. We heard a lot of drama out between games, and Mike took charge with Mark Messier and Kevin Lowe's and all the leadership. So he was tough, but I don't think Mark Messier would have, if Mike would have crossed the line like he did in the past or afterward. I don't think that would have sit well with Mark Messier. But we had a perfect match because we won the cup. At the end of the day, we won the cup, and Mike was important in our team.
Well, obviously, you're such a big part in this Rangers Devils history, the rivalry. And, in the recent years, we haven't really seen a lot of big games between the two teams, whether it's the Rangers aren't doing well in the season or the Devils aren't doing well in the season. What does tonight do for this rivalry?
Well, the rivalry, one of the team move on, and they're going to have a good chance to beat the Carolina. So to the Devils' credit, I was with Ken Danico last night in Philly. We talked about the young Devils. Fitzgerald, the GM, has done an incredible job the last 4 years, 3 to 4 years, to their credit. And the Rangers has done the same thing. They gambled. They got two good superstars, and I would think Patrick Kane is due for a big game. We haven't seen him much the last 4 games. And he's a type of player that's the reason why they brought him on board to come up big in a huge game like Game 7. So one of the two teams moving ahead, and the other team's going to be disappointed tonight. But it should be a good Game 7.
Last year against Pittsburgh, Artemi Panarin joining you as one of the few Rangers to win a series in Game 7 in overtime. If the Rangers win, say fast forward 9-10 hours tonight, if the Rangers win, who do you think gets the game-winning goal?
That's a good point. I would say Patrick Kane, and let's go for Panarin, one of the other. So anyone, I would be so happy. So I hope it's not going to get that far, but last night we had a very good series, ended in overtime in Boston against the Panthers. So it's exciting for the fans. Even though I'm an alumni, I'm an ex-Rangers, I'm a fan. First of all, I'm a fan. I love watching those games, even though it's nerve-wracking, even though we don't know the outcome. Having a Game 7 in overtime could be very exciting for all of us.
Well, Stephane, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure, and should be a fun one tonight. Rangers Devils Game 7 at the Rock. Thank you very much for joining us.
Let's go Rangers tonight. Thank you.